Hello and welcome to Thought Provoking Tech. I'm Zach and this is Tech Tips. In this episode of Tech Tips, I'm going to be going over the community focused social media site Imzy. Imzy is founded in part by Dan McComas, formerly of Reddit GIFs, so you can see where it gets its Reddit influence from. Earlier this year, it was announced that Imzy had received $3 million of venture capital funding, and you can see that they put some of that cash flow into good use. The base site is very well designed and has a lot of potential of where it could go from here. The site is still in beta and requires an invite to access, so I figured that I would showcase it and kind of give my thoughts on the site and whether you should, kind of join and the benefits that it brings to the table. Right off the bat, you can see the inspiration from Reddit, but there are two key features that I really think that puts it ahead of the pack and makes it stand out with a fresh look on social media. Those two features are the cool tipping system, and the major feature is the community-focused approach. The communities in general are very well designed, and you can tell they put a lot of thought in how they're going to portray those communities. I'll go into that later, but I did want to touch on the founders and the staff at Imzy's strong view against hate speech and trolling. It is a refreshing view. Now, while others are also against Imzy and have voiced concern about the possibilities of the censorship, counting against that point, you just by going off the home screen, you can see that it actually has less censorship than a lot of other sites. Take Facebook for granted. Your newsfeed is very rarely actually just a list of stuff that you follow. Now, there are benefits to having an algorithm determine kind of what you see and sites that you visit more, but it definitely is leaning towards displaying stuff that actually makes Facebook more profitable rather than just being a site that is exactly what you would want to read. Take, for instance, there's a couple different pages and groups that I very rarely ever see any of the posts that they make if I don't go directly to those communities just to keep up with them and read what they're posting, read articles that they've linked or cool pictures that they found or whatever. Anything along those lines. A lot of the times I never even see that on Facebook. Imzy's home screen is actually everything from your communities, and the only filtering that it has, unless you filter it yourself with the filtering tools, is just the newest posts go on top. So you see that it is actually very limited on censorship. Now, I haven't really experienced any heated discussions that have involved, racism or hate speech or anything along those matters to see kind of how they deal with it. So once the community grows, that issue might become more of an issue, really, in short. So time will really tell whether that censorship concern that some people have is even something to be worried about, or if it's something that Imzy has a very solid plan for. So beyond that, you can kind of see some of the basics of the system. Is they kind of have the same similar post system where you have your text, your images, and your links. In addition, they've added a couple cool ones where you can have podcasts and Twitch, which embed either the podcast stream or the Twitch stream directly into the post. The way that these posts are designed are very fluid and very intuitive. If people are posting, you see that people are actually replying to the post, or you see if a new post is there, a little box comes up saying that there's a new post. You click on it and it reveals the new post comment. You never have to reload, meaning you could have an embedded YouTube video through the link button and watch a YouTube video, comment on it, and load new comments as they come through without ever having to refresh the page or anything along those lines. So that's a very cool and very well designed for a way to bring outside media in. Beyond that, they have a very strong community features. Now that's one of the big things that I think is really going to put Imzy ahead of the pack. I'll go into my community that I've made for this YouTube channel as an example. Right off the bat, you see that there's a dashboard. This dashboard is very powerful while also being limited at the same time. I definitely see room where they could add more data to kind of help leaders out. But right out at a glance, you can see kind of a brief kind of overview of the members, how many new ones you have today, your activity, the different types of posts, and how many comments, tips, and a help desk request. The help desk is also another big feature that I think will be very useful that I'll go over here in a second. Scrolling down for the page, you can see like kind of activity of the page, your community, like people viewing, commenting, or posting over like a week period, as well as kind of just a brief summary of like help desk requests, reports of people have reporting users or whatever in your community, as well as leader actions. Now onto the help desk. This could be very useful for a variety of different communities, but I definitely, from my kind of experience and kind of the thought line that I'm coming from, being useful for content creators or like indie game developers or other types of smaller scale content or game or any type of creator like along those lines. If you don't have the money, if you're a small developer to spend on a full help desk software, this could actually be a very simple, while also limited at the same time, system for community service. You could run your community service through your Imzy community and take on issues with, if you're billing, if you have a subscription service, problems that are having loading the game or anything along those lines. So it's a very cool feature that they have added, and it is very useful, and it has a wide array of uses, which I kind of see as a kind of a base thought that a lot of the systems that are designed could be used in multiple different ways depending on the type of communities. I'll go back for a second and go back to the Imzy homepage. When you create a community, you have several different options of communities you can create. You can create just kind of like a standard community, which means everybody can post and everybody can comment. You have restricted communities. These are communities that only certain people can post. That's leaders and pre-approved contributors. Those types of communities, I definitely see being useful from anywhere from personal blogs all the way to small indie developers to content creators, and even as the platform grows for full-on brands like Coca-Cola or Nike or something like that. Even farther beyond that, you have the private communities, which you have to be invited to and be a member of before you can even see what's going on. Just taking the first two community types, the kind of standard and then your restricted communities, there's a lot of different ways people can use the communities to make a very cool platform that ties into whatever you're doing. So there's lots of communities already there that kind of like the Android community where you can talk about all the different stuff going on with Android, and that's an open community where anyone can post. But I've already seen multiple different personal blogs popping up, and some even content creators posting stuff up. Also, here's a quick preview of kind of like how the system works with like embedded podcasts. I forgot to show this a second ago, so I'll just go ahead and show this real quick. It is playing stuff, so I'm going to pause that right now. But you can kind of see that it plays. People can comment while it's playing, and new posts will show up. So going back to the main points I was going to, I'm going to go back to my dashboard and move on to the members tab. The members tab is pretty intuitive too. This first whole chunk here, I imagine will probably be removed after the Imzy platform has moved out of beta and doesn't require invites anymore. It could stick around, but I don't really see what use it could have. Here's where you add contributors to restricted communities. So people you have added here will show up down here, whether a leader or just a standard contributor. And in a restricted community, they will also be allowed to post. And then you can see your complete member listing where you have all your active members. You can see what kind of status they have, and you can ban them. Beyond that, you see unnamed participants. That is a cool feature that Imzy has introduced recently that lets you go to a community and have different profiles based on a community by community basis. So I'm going to go to a community that I haven't really interacted with. In this community, you see that a little blue box pops up saying I could choose a profile. I can use my real name if I chose, use Zach_Brownfield, which is the standard profile I've been using across all my communities that I'm members of. I could be anonymous, which makes me have a random name on that post itself, and each post, if I chose that option again, would have a completely new name, meaning that people couldn't track you between posts. And then you could actually create a new profile. This is cool if you're like running a marketing team for your brand at your work, or if you're a freelancer that runs multiple different social media sites for different customers. You could actually have a main profile, which is just your personal thoughts and stuff, and then actually have profiles on the page for that brand that you're kind of representing, so that you don't have to actually have separate accounts where you have to log in and log out all the time. You have one account, and when you go to the community, it inherits and it remembers that profile that you've already chosen for that community, and automatically makes you post as that profile. So there's no accidentally forgetting to log out and posting as the wrong person if you have given permission to do that across multiple ones, or just not having to go through the hassle of having to sign out and sign back in. So it definitely is a cool feature, and the whole anonymous thing definitely has its ups and downs, and there's both benefits and negative aspects to it. But I definitely see, like, if you're on here with a bunch of friends that and there could be a community for like abuse or like suicide help or something, like a suicide hotline type thing, and you might not want the people that you interact with daily kind of know everything that you're going to be talking about in one of those things, or even for people, random strangers, to be able to track what you're saying and follow the other posts that you're saying to link you to that, the different conversations that you're having. So there's definitely is a positive use for having anonymous posts. So on both sides of the coin, there's very cool features for the anonymous posting. Beyond that, some of the base systems that you kind of see is you can have drafts. So I just did a quick draft just to kind of show what's going on, and you can kind of see that there's tags. Tags right now are very simple. They just show in the top of the post, so you can see that's a feature request or a new community advertisement for someone that has made a new community about bento, whatever that is. So it's just a very quick way to kind of at a glance see what the article is about. There's been requests for people for that to be linked and show all posts with that tag, but that is something that is in the works that might show up in the future. Now, returning back on track to the dashboard, you can continue on to the leaders tab and see all the leaders that you have accepted. Down here, you can give leaders, and you have different silos of permissions. So a leader could actually be just a leader for like the help desk center, or a leader just for to manage members, to ban people and stuff along those matters. And there is also this cool little leader chat. So if you have met people online and started a community, you might not necessarily want to give them your email for whatever reason. And this is a way you can keep in contact with other leaders without giving them those details. The tips screen is very basic right now. Without any tips, it's hard to see exactly what it shows. So that'll be something I'll explore later on, possibly. But I'm going to go on to one last thing I saw was very cool with communities. That is the App Store, which is added not too long ago. There's supposed to be a developer beta sometime in the next coming weeks, which will showcase the API. The API is going to be something that, depending on how deep it lets developers dive, could greatly influence the way that communities work. And that's where your different type of communities, where your personal blogs and stuff could really be unique and have different types of posts and everything along those lines. So one of the things I've thought in my head of a different post type could be like an event post. In the event post, you RSVP to the event, very similar to how like Facebook's event system works. And you're given a notification either on Imzy or email, or both, like a day before, just to let you know that the event that you have RSVP'd to is coming up. So it's just like the way that it is possible that it might be possible to augment the system that we're seeing and make it kind of unique, and that community developers could post very cool stuff and possibly even sell it for profit, uh, really makes the platform Imzy open and shows the possibilities that it has. Now, the last thing I wanted to show off was the tipping system. That's the second feature that I think sets it apart from the crowd. You can tip the post creator through this button right here, or you can post like a commenter and tip them right here. So you can tip both the uh, poster or the commenters, just like Reddit Gold. And that gives them, actually, instead of having a couple website features that they may or may not use, they actually get real cash that they can spend on whatever they want to. There's a base 10% fee that Imzy throws on there as an additional donation. You can eliminate that if you want. However, I would suggest keeping it just because Imzy is ad free. It is a very cool community, and supporting them definitely helps them to continue to develop and make cool new features. Now, if you're giving someone like a big donation, like a $5 or $50 donation, you know, maybe bump that down, you know, because a $5 donation, that would be a 50-cent tip, which isn't much. But if you're giving someone a $50 donation, that's going to give a $5 donation to Imzy, and maybe you only want to give them a $2 donation. That's whatever. As long as you're still giving something, I'm cool with that, and I think it's definitely good to support the creators of the Imzy platform so that it does stay ad free, as well as not, you know, putting certain posts that had been, you know, boosted and paid to be at the top of the list, to keep them, you know, keep the way that it sorts stuff how it is, and keeps just so that it doesn't have an algorithm or, you know, money playing in fact of what you're seeing. Beyond having just the fact to give someone like a donation or a tip per se, you can actually subscribe to them. So you also have the subscribe button that every 30 days you give them a donation that you've set up here. That is very cool, and it kind of reminds me of the a very basic like Twitch subscribe system, or a very basic system mirroring Patreon. Beyond just tipping the posters and commenters, you can actually tip the community itself. So if you had a community of different bloggers and you wanted to tip the entire community of, you know, whatever that was, you could tip the community, and they could share that however they wanted to, rather than trying to have to make, you know, tips to every different post author or whatever that in that blog, or however whatever it was. So it's a definitely cool feature, and definitely sets Imzy above the crowd in the way that you can interact and support people that are posting stuff that is interesting, and stuff that you really, you know, hits you where, you know, your interests lie. So those are kind of the major features of Imzy. I probably missed some things that the platform really does, but I think I've talked about the core aspects of Imzy, and I hope that this was an informative video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe in the bottom right corner, or just by going to my channel homepage. I will be doing more along this series of the tech tips, which kind of focuses kind of on the software and the website side of tech, as well as different series I have planned for different projects and stuff, from anywhere from 3D printing to Arduino to Raspberry Pi to computer-based projects. So there's a lot of cool things that I have planned, and a lot of different series that I have planned to come out. So as soon as I start rolling out this content, there'll definitely be some cool stuff to stay tuned for. Beyond that, if you thought what you saw here about Imzy was awesome and you want to join, you can request an invite directly on imzy.com, or you can also mention the Imzy Twitter handle, which is IMZYHQ on Twitter, and I'm sure there's somebody who will reply that give you an invite. Your best bet to get in is going through a user that is already a member of Imzy, or a community. Communities are actually given a big slot of people to invite, which you kind of saw when I was going over the members tab of people that I've invited. I will post the link in the description to my Imzy community that you're free to join if you're already on Imzy, or if you're new to Imzy, you can request a link to join, or you can request an invite through that link by going to my community, and then I'll make sure that you get a link. If all those invites have been used up, because we're only giving a slot of 100, I will make sure that I update that link with an extra link to a different community that I lead, or another community on Imzy that I've talked to the leaders to make sure that's okay if I use the link to their community for invite requests. That's probably your best bet to get invited is through users or a community. So if you're interested, there's definitely avenues to get an invite fairly quickly. So thank you for watching, guys, and once again, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again.